it's all about power, more power to the people when it comes to us getting ticketed and how much we pay exactly. But people, and we were a little shocked to learn that people were on both sides of this.
Yeah, so we're talking about paying for traffic tickets. There is somebody here in California who is now presenting a bill, and in that bill it suggests that you should only pay a traffic ticket depending on what your income is. And so if you are running a red light, should you pay $500 or $100? Well, they say it depends on how much you make. So the whole theory behind this is that there are a lot of people who get traffic tickets who are not in a bracket of income where they feel like they can live comfortably. They're month to month, they're week to week, and then they get a traffic ticket that piles on top of their other bills, and then they become really far in debt. Their whole worlds get shaken up. They can't make their other bills. So the argument is we shouldn't have any Californian go that significantly into debt for breaking the law. The other side of this, though, is, of course, why would anybody get a different treatment? If it's the same law that you're breaking, shouldn't we all have to pay the same amount? And just because somebody makes more money, does that make them eligible to have to pay more money when they, too, commit some sort of a traffic violation? So we want to open it up to you. This is something that our viewers were chiming in on the Morning Blend from 5 to 7 about. And a lot of people were upset from what I was seeing in the comments that this is even being talked about. A lot of people said, you know, this isn't something that should fall back on someone who has a better job or someone who makes more money. If you're breaking the law, you're breaking the law.
You're breaking the law.
What do you think, ladies?
Well, let me pose this question. What if you did not break the law and you still got the ticket? You know, because unfortunately we live in a time in a country where right and wrong aren't, it isn't always the case. It isn't, you did something wrong and you have to pay. It's just not that black and white. So I don't see a problem with it, but my question, like I said, my bigger question is, so what happens in the case where you didn't do something and now you have to pay $400 for a ticket and you're like, I didn't do anything in the first place? And this can be also tied to, let's say you get arrested for something and you have to bail out to get out of jail before you even have a trial. If you don't have any money, you can't afford 10% of a $3,000 bail. So I think it's all connected and it's all tied together. And I think it's a bigger conversation of us having to discuss what the current state of our system in regards to stuff like this, tickets and criminality and everything under that scope.
Well, we have G. Reyes here who says, we saw this last night, old news. Yes, you are right. You did see it probably on our 11 o'clock newscast, but the reason why we're talking about it this morning and today is because, people were sleeping. They have a chance to chime in. But in a newscast setting, you can't always dive deep and get people to join in on the conversation as much as you can right now. So this is the case. People are talking to us right now about this. You have Renee who says, how about not breaking the law and you wouldn't have to worry about how much money someone makes? So it's going to the point that you were reading a lot of comments coming in this morning. We have Christian Cavallo says, oh, I just read about those who have quote unquote tickets pile up shouldn't be driving. If the fines are lowered for some, it will be raised for others to cover the costs, or other tax monies will be used to cover.
Yeah, and the person who again brought this bill into the scope of the Capitol, Senator Bob Hertzberg, and he did introduce it, and he says big fines for minor traffic offenses force many people to go deep into debt, lose their driver licenses, and then their jobs. So he says, if you can no longer contribute to the economy through working and then spending your money back because you have a traffic ticket, then maybe this would essentially balance that out if you could pay a smaller fee. But another conversation that we were having too is, okay, so what then does that mean for the people who don't make a lot of money and they have somewhere to be? And they're like, you know what, I'm just going to speed because I know it's going to be less for me.
It's going to be affordable.
Yeah,
if the ticket's going to be affordable, then you know what, somehow in some cases, if I need to just park in a spot that is illegal, it's going to be worth the X amount of money I have to pay because now it's in a range where I can actually afford that. That's where I see the problem coming into play. If you break the law, and again, and Cornelia will say this all the time because I'm about the rules and the regulations.
I love her some rules.
I love me some rules. Often, and you guys, again, I'll talk about me and driving. I'm that person sometimes, or I'm the one having to talk to the officer and be like, oh, if I broke the law, whether it's something that's not necessarily putting me at harm. Most recently, it could be, say, my tint. I'm coming from a different state, different rules and regulations there. That could be a situation where I'm being ticketed for something that, yes, like Cornelia is saying, you didn't even necessarily do. So I get it. I'm on sometimes this side, but I'll tell myself and hold myself accountable. Well, then I should have known the laws. I'm coming here to California. I should have known the rules and regulations. Therefore, I should have to pay X amount of money. So I am, just like all of you, a person who's out there and at the hand of these police officers who could look at a vehicle and say, according to our eyes, that tint is off, or according to what we believe and what we see, this is what you should have done. But I do believe that you just follow the rules,
right,
and you lessen the chance.
Yeah, and I did hear from someone on Twitter this morning and also on our Facebook pages, and people are saying, so does that mean I shouldn't go forward and try to have a good paying job and get a college education because I don't want to make more money, because then I'm going to have to pay more for the tickets? No, don't break the law. You know, I think, yes, that you all make great points that just because you make more money doesn't necessarily mean you have that much more money than everybody else does. If you break the same exact violation, that if you do that violation, it's the same exact thing that Joe next door did, and you have a $300 difference in your fines, I don't see that as being fair. And I'm judging based on the fact that you did the same thing wrong. So just because someone has more money, I don't think that you should be expected to pay more.
Okay, let me pose another question, and not related to actually doing something wrong, committing a crime. Let's talk about taxes. So can the same thing be said across the board? If I make more money and you make less than me, does that mean I should have to pay more? We can have the same conversation in that sense, even though it's totally different.
You're not doing anything wrong.
That comes up a lot. I think with taxes, it's a totally different story. I think that, you know, there are so many people who are going to love and hate both aisles of that discussion. I don't personally want to get into it because I don't want to be the person who you're all mad at. But Ruth does say something here. Ruth says, so capitalism doesn't really happen. The harder you work and the more money you earn, they will take it away in bigger chunks if you make a mistake. But if you choose to live off the system, or if you do to earn too much, to make that same mistake, you pay less. How is that fair to the person who worked their way up the chain? And that's how I feel.
Well, we want to clear something up. It doesn't mean that just because you make more money under this bill, just because you make more money, doesn't mean that the fines will go up. It just means that for those who can't afford it at all, the fines will go slightly down.
And just because, and I want to quickly touch on, just because you don't make as much money doesn't automatically we shouldn't assume that you're living off the system. Like that doesn't.
You mean less money?
Yeah, that doesn't. Those are two different things. So poverty doesn't equate automatically trying to come up or trying to get over or trying to get a handout.
I mean,
That's
it's considered poverty to make less than $150,000 in San Francisco. You know, so I think it's depending on where you live. It's depending on what city you work in. But again, this is a California bill that was introduced. So I want to hear from those who do want to see something like this. We heard from someone in one of our stories today. She and her brother had just gotten pulled over, actually, I think the same day or days apart. They both rolled through the California roll and stop, the same stop sign, and they say that they both got the same traffic violation, $400 each. So in a matter of hours, they're both being expected to pay a total of $800 for passing through a stop sign, and they just felt like that fine was outrageous. So I don't know where the fines get set and why, but I can see how somebody doing something with what would seem so minor could get slapped with a huge fine, and $400 for somebody is their rent, you know, and so I could see that really being detrimental to keeping that money and to having that for your family. But again, laws are in place for a reason. You know?
Susan, why do we keep looking for escapes in the judicial system? We should never make excuses for people who break laws. Go ahead, Cornelia.
And again, we're talking about a system that is not black and white. Just because you get a ticket, you are committed to doing a crime doesn't mean that you did it. That's a fact. So this idea that it's been proven. So I don't like that part of the discussion. I just don't agree with, and I don't understand why it keeps coming back to that.
But how about black and white? How about if in one certain case, if that person was going well over the speed limit and they were breaking the law and they make less money than the person who makes more money, should they pay less? If they broke the law, say in that situation it is a fact.
That is what happened.
Then again, if they're going along the lines of passing the bill, then maybe they need to put a direct percentage down of your overall income. Like if they're trying to make it, instead of saying you pay $20 and you pay $400 or whatnot, you pay, if you commit a crime, you pay 30% of your yearly income. 30% of your income, whether you make $16,000, it's going to hit your pocket.
Same.
Everyone the same, like taxes.
Okay.
So maybe they need to word it differently, but again, you can't win with with situations
just like breaking the law is breaking the law. 30% is 30%. You're saying you put that. Okay. So yes, you guys keep chiming in on this conversation. We're going to keep talking about that, but I see